on Instagram. And I just want to say thank you to all of our members. You are helping support PRI and all of our work. For those who aren't members yet, consider joining us. We have one of the most extensive pigment-related libraries in the world. And we have an archive now of over 30 video recordings related to pigments. We have a mentoring program and much more. Please check out our membership page on the website. And if you'd like to donate to our work, please go to our website homepage and scroll down. Okay, enough of that and on to our talk today. Our speaker today has a lengthy CV in forensic soil investigation, land reclamation and rehabilitation, as well as assisting the U.S. Department of Energy and the Nuclear Regulatory Commission with nuclear waste containment, among other projects. Some of his early work includes a project with Tanzanian wildlife ecology and conservation, but today his expertise lies in creating innovative soil amendments, carbon sequestration, safe nuclear containment, and bioenergy. His work is vital in the efforts to help save our environment. All of this adds up to someone who spends a great deal of time playing in the dirt, and it gives him the incredible opportunity to work on a collection of colored soils to match all 600 colors in the Munsell soil color chart, a chart that I've always wanted to have a copy of, just because it's so beautiful. His work also gives Morgan extensive periods of time spent on the land, during which he develops personal, intimate relationships with place and the materials there, with the beingness of place and materials. As this is a subject very dear to my heart, I'd like you all to please welcome Morgan so I can hear what he has to share.
All right. Well, thank you, Melanie, and thank you all. It's sometimes funny hearing yourself introduced, right? These different aspects of my life that I've cultivated that somehow all make sense. They all integrate, even though some seem to be a bit more professionally serious than others in different ways. This talk today is very near and dear to my heart and my own sense of self, really. Some of the things I'll talk about really do speak to the way that I engage in place and the way that those places evoke experiences of self that, I don't know, really reinforce experiences of life. So this may be a bit of an esoteric topic for some, and I will just start out by saying that everyone is joining this talk from a different discipline with different language. And I would just encourage you all to feel that area of receptivity and knowingness that is present in all of these different realms that exist on our planet. Much of this really draws from, wisdom of the originals, the people that have been here forever in some regard. These are old ways of thinking that I am just putting new language to. So this is very much nothing new, nothing that I created in a sense. These are things that have been going on in one way or another forever. And it is really those relationships that result in the way people engage with the land, right? So a few more specific little acknowledgements here. Several of my teachers, namely in the more Christian esoteric thoughts, Samuel Sagan and Rosa Droscher, they were very fundamental in the way that I think about these topics. Then there's more academic teachers that I owe a great deal of gratitude towards, that have allowed me a different language and a different lens to access knowledge and describe places and materials and spaces. And also, Heidi, thank you for kind of helping get this talk going. So always an inspiration. So good to see you. Before we really dive in, maybe we can all just slow down and just check in with how we're arriving here today. So what you're bringing in from your day, what you're bringing in from your discipline, thought, how you're showing up. If you just close your eyes and feel if there's spots that are crunchy or open or whatever they may be, just taking a minute to just check in with yourself and maybe just take a big deep breath and a loud exhale, you know, landing here. So the reason that I'm really emphasizing that is much of this talk and much of the space that is behind what I'm saying really does require a connection to the feeling body and the experience and the awareness of very subtle aspects of the experience of engaging with place. So starting off, I would like to just say this is going to be a little bit of an interactive talk. So there will be moments when I say, does anyone have anything to share? And I'm going to leave it to Melanie to kind of navigate how to do that a little bit. Maybe there's hand raising or something like that. But I do hope to hear from you somewhere during the talk and not just at the end when summoned. All right. So
you can all hit down at the bottom of your screen. There's under reactions. I think you can raise your hand.
Perfect. All right. So what is a rock? What is a soil? What is a mineral? What is a landscape? Right? What are these things? You ask different people from different places with different backgrounds, they'll probably tell you slightly different things, right? There's the deductive way of seeing a material, right? A rock is the mineral composition of its individual parts, right? Oh, is that really what a rock is, right? Or is it more? Is it simply a mechanistic understanding of what makes that rock materially, or through space and time, the processes that occur to create rockness? Or is there more to it? Is there a knowingness of that material, that item, whether it's in the landscape, whether it's in your house? Is there a feeling associated with that? You perceive different things when looking at this photograph, for example. And what does that experience really lend itself to opening? So is a rock just a rock, or is it more? I'm going to walk you through a few pictures, and all these photos I took, most of them are from Australia. I've romped around quite a few times. But this series of photographs is looking at scale and perspective, and they're all of the same place and all of the same material, right? So really feeling into this photo on the left.
What I've still got on my screen, Morgan, is your title page. And I can see your whole screen. Not,
okay, so screen sharing seems to be paused.
This will stop. No.
Maybe we try this. Is there a button that you can see up there that says resume share, Melanie?
No. What is going on here?
Hmm. I can try to share again. So let's see if that works.
There we go.
Okay.
Now it's just the title page. I
All right.
can't see your whole screen.
Let's try this. You see a different.
I see acknowledgements now.
All right, great.
All right.
Okay.
There we go.
So marching
Purchase.
forward, here we go.
Yep. There we go.
So the photographs on the left, just really taking this place in. Right? And then the photograph on the right is just a different perspective of that same place. Same place. But for me, it evokes a different experience, right? Literally just turning to the left in that photograph. So zooming in a little bit further, and really just a practice of scale, all the same material, right? And what is this stuff? Is it the landscape? Is it a rock? Is it particles? Is it the potentiality to make paint? Is it its chemical constituents that make it what it is? The totality of all of these things, right? And for me, it's all of these and more, right? So it's a really dynamic experience of an individual place, and I think the angle at which you are looking into it really does have a huge impact on your experience of it. And for some of us, we may resonate more, and we may have more familiarity with working and feeling these materials at one of these scales or another, right? And that's okay. All of those experiences are okay. So really in this, the takeaway is this experience of landscape really just the sum of individual parts? And I would posit to suggest that it's not, that complexity kind of rolls up into something that is far more than just its, the rational way of wrapping your head around these places and these materials. And really through that experience, more becomes alive and more becomes revealed. I mean, looking at this, this is a masterpiece to me, right? Just look at this for a second. And just feel what this evokes in yourself. Where your mind goes or where your heart goes. And again, all experiences are welcome. There's no right or wrong in any of this. But for me, I'm just sort of taken in. There's sort of a quality where I enter into this space, right? You can see it. And for me, my awareness goes very peripheral. And it's almost as though I can step directly into this And there's a feeling of that entire space that becomes available. And my cognitive mind really taps into, well, how did this form, right? What processes had to occur to make this? I mean, just the materiality of it is awesome, right? Look at it. The interplay between all of these different forces. And that's what's cool about soils, right? Soils are at the intersection of all the major different energetic spheres, the lithosphere, rocks, the biosphere, plants, the atmosphere, air, the hydrosphere, water, all of those things mingling at the surface to create what is. So that cognitive part of me just steps in and thinks, feel like, wow, what did this? It really start to get going on that. But there's more to it, more to my experience of that as well. It's really, again, using that word, what this evokes in myself. And I don't know, it's sometimes the texture of it, right? There's a texture that does touch something, right? And opens something. Maybe it's curiosity, maybe it's wonder, maybe it's just another space of conscious awareness, right? But what is that? And maybe others are experiencing some of these flavors as well. So much of this kind of rolls into this whole space and these trainings that exist that I've been in and seeped in around land energies, right? And what is a land energy, right? And a land energy is really the qualities of a place that spark when you feel into them. And it involves using techniques of inner vision to really make tangible some of these different dimensions of place that exist beyond physical, right? And most often, these types of energies are engaged with quite deeply in forming sacred spaces, sacred places, places of worship, temples. You know, these, if you walk into a place, right, to a landscape, and you just feel an alignment of energy in yourself, like, whoa, something really just, there's a vitality, something sparks. And not all landscapes are like this, not all places in landscapes, but there are some that are very potent, right? And these trainings, these land energy trainings, are really to start to add a language to this experience and start to map out these landscapes of consciousness as they relate to these experiences of place. So again, these sacred sites are oftentimes deeply embedded with these specific qualities of land energies, right? And it's these land energies that through ritual and other spiritual practice almost get woven together to create an even more potent area, right? And you almost get like a mythological, I think Heidi and I, we wrote this thing and she came up with this awesome word called a mytholithic, right? This mytholithic layer where spirit and material are woven together to create a new space. And that isn't just material. There's experience in it. It evokes something of self, of spirit that is amplified, right? And how does this work? This is like ancient technology. But it is embedded in times in these material markers, these stones, these mountains, these rocks, these caves, buildings, whatever they may be. And there's what's called a fluid dimensional layer, which has no material space. It is the realm of spirit, right? This fluid dimensional, you can kind of feel into the geography of the spiritual realm, but it doesn't exist in a tangible physical sense, right? And so the word fluid dimensional for me really conveys what that materiality of the non-material can kind of start to feel like. So really, at its core, these trainings and these ways of engaging with materials and spaces and places is a fundamental intertwining of both geologic materials and features and landforms and other elements of the natural world like trees, different animals, different surface processes. Water is a huge factor in all of this. But how that aspect of the surface of the planet, these potent areas, how they really weave with human experience of self, human consciousness, human spirit. And it's really through those practices that anchor these places and they become alive in lots of different dimensions. So this is very much not an academic learning, right? It's not the focus of this. It's at its core, it's spiritual work. It is in the realm of navigating the consciousness of places and how to convene with other spirits, if you will, through these places that are quite ancient. You can feel like, I'm sure that some of you, and mind you, some on this talk, some that are here, they may not have had these experiences, right? And that's okay too. But I would invite you again to just feel the space behind what I'm saying, and not maybe the individual little intricacies, but just feeling the space behind it. While others are like, yep, I totally convene with beings in these areas at times. Like, yep, there are life forms that exist that are inside of rocks that I have felt. There are forces that I can feel that become alive when I open myself in some way, or et cetera, et cetera. So this is the realm of the conscious, right? The spirit world. And really these trainings and these frameworks are ways to activate a shared language around them. And this is very much just skimming the very surface of this. And at its core, it's all about cultivating very refined levels of receptivity, right? And again, just how do you convene with the fluid dimensional, right? It's very out of the ordinary for some. There is a tendency, right, to kind of get stuck in your head to try to figure it out. You know, how does it work, right? Science is pretty good at understanding the how of things, but very, very poor at understanding the why, right? So just starting to tease apart those two things. Do the how, but more interestingly is the why, right? And that's more in the realm of experience and less understanding. Really highlighting the role of feeling and awareness. And again, each of you, and everyone for that matter, has this infrastructure, if you will, inside of them. This is just part of being human and part of actually being grown from place, right? There is that subtle body infrastructure that does exist, and it's just about reconnecting to that. So in a more tangible sense, we're going to walk through a few different images. And the practice at this stage is really to place your awareness either within the object itself or around it. So when I say place your awareness, you can kind of feel where your center of experience is located, right? And just sort of step into the rock, or feel yourself kind of enveloping and holding an awareness around the rock, right? Or whatever the object is. So just take a minute to kind of tune into this. Just with your vision, sort of feeling the space. This is perhaps the world's largest flawless raw diamond. And you can kind of make eye contact with it a little bit. Almost like one of those seeing eye posters from the 90s, right? Some of you might remember those. You sort of put your focus and then you lose your focus to what's called the periphery, right? So your sense of awareness becomes not a single point, but a plane. And then just get curious around what the sensations are that you're experiencing. So at this point, you know, if there's anyone that has an experience that they're feeling or something that's a little funny, not so much questions about the practice itself, but experiences you're having, okay? If you can just raise your hand and we'll have a little bit of sharing. And it can just be a single word, like quality of light or anything like that. All right. I think I can, okay, so Jen, you, yeah.
I was really surprised that I could see mountains and almost like view through time, like visually mountains in the image with the way it's refracting light, but kind of almost see how it was formed, which I wasn't expecting.
Very cool.
Sure.
Yeah, very good, very good, very good. Catalina.
Hi, for me, there is a whole world inside that calls me, that brings me in. And I feel like I want to go around exploring all the areas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very good. Yeah. Heidi.
Well,
I feel like I'm experiencing a rock wall. It's like a, you know, really big dimension.
Yeah.
And I'm
Very
hearing,
cool.
actually, I'm hearing a sound like a ding, 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 like a kind of vibrational sound is what is happening for me.
I love it. Exactly. You can hear things, silent sound as well, right? I'm glad that you brought that up. Okay, perfect. All right, we'll go on to the next one. We'll just do the same thing. So just feeling in to this nugget of gold. Just with your awareness, just placing yourself in the middle of this nugget of gold. Feeling the spreading. Either going deeper into it or horizontally. Just taking another moment here. Any experiences that people are having from this? Just raising your hand again.
I get a sense of softness, like when you sink into a really deep feather bed. That it's not something I have ever associated with gold.
Awesome, though. Love it. That's a good one. Others. Yeah, Jen.
I'll go again. Drippy.
Yeah, please.
Can't get any more
Drippy.
detail. Can't tell you why.
No, that's it. Sometimes it's just really packed experiences, right? That it's like a movement of something. Drippy is a great word. Amanda.
Hi. Sorry, I think my video's off. When I was thinking of what Heidi said about the sound the other one made, and I tried to listen to this one, it felt more like it was listening to me, like it was soft, like Alina said, and that it could mold around me. It was really odd. It was like it was yeah. I can't explain it better than that, actually. But it had a softness and a malleability that was sort of coming towards, rather than me coming towards it, if that makes any sense. I don't know.
Yeah, it does. I have a shared experience. Yeah, very good.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go to the next one just for, well, you'll get it. But tuning into this one, same material. Same material. But again, wrapping your awareness around this bar of gold. Really the spreading into it. It's a distinction. It's not becoming it. It's wrapping your awareness around it. And there's a little bit of a distinction there, right? Because we're not gold, okay? But we can feel the experience of goldness. And that's really what it's more about. So with this, I'm just curious if anyone has a comparison versus the raw material and the refined experience of this. Yeah, Catalina.
This one doesn't talk too much to me. I don't know why. I find it very flat. While the other one, I felt the need to surround it with my hands, to touch it, to feel the surface. This one doesn't do that.
Right. Very good. Others. Jen, yeah, what do you got?
This one feels very cold to me, where the other one had a quality of warmth to it, while still being a metal feeling. This one just feels cold.
Yep. Lana.
Hi. So for the last picture, the previous one, I wasn't sure, but I don't know. I kind of felt I didn't feel great about it. I didn't feel great when I looked at it,
Mhm.
and I wasn't really sure if it's kind of like my human experience, our human experience with gold and what it's done and become, I guess, to us, versus the actual material itself. But then this image kind of reinforced that for me, you know? So it's interesting
Mhm.
because I see how it's difficult to separate the two, obviously, as a human.
Mhm.
And so I guess that's something I should be mindful of.
I mean, isn't that fascinating, right? Same material, identical, but a different context, a different form, entirely different experience, right?
I definitely feel the humanness, the human element in this one,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
everything about it. The craftsmanship that went into the carving of the mold, the cleanness of this gold. It's like we've sterilized it. We've
Mhm.
it feels like the spirit has been removed.
Totally, totally. Very good, very good. Any other thoughts? Go to the next one. All right. It's a little bit different, right? But it evokes another experiential quality, right? This is like the purest mud, this volcanic mud. It's warm, fluid, there's a weight to it. But again, just tuning into this. Placing yourself in the mud. Your awareness is the mud. Spreading vertically and horizontally into the mud.
This got me salivating.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Others.
Immediate feeling of joy, and also the desire to
Yeah,
cover myself in it, like a little kid playing in the mud.
absolutely. Yeah, Amanda. Oh, Amanda, you had your hand up.
Oh, I sorry, I did speak and I didn't realize I was muted. Yeah, same. It made me want to play. I immediately smiled when I saw it, and I wanted to feel it and touch it, and just a lot of joy and a lot of want to play with it and feel it. Essentially.
Awesome. Any others? Yeah, Heidi.
I'll just offer another sense, and for me on this one was my sense of smell was really activated. I think like Melanie with the saliva, I'm like feeling like there's something else in the air. You know, as much as I want to dive into it, I'm curious about the surround of it and the smell.
Yeah. All of these things are multisensory, right? And sometimes the voltage is a little louder on some senses than others, right? But it's really the sensory experience of place and material and context which awakens something. And that's really what I'm trying to highlight through this. Any others on the mud? I want to play too. I mean, that's a big one for me in this. So I'm there with you. All right. And what about this one? placing your awareness in this wall of ochre. And then going a little more peripheral, taking it all in. For this, if there's any areas in yourself, any organs or places that are highlighted, or that there's like a sensation that happens in that experience, and that share would be welcome as well. So Velma, yes. Oh, Velma, if you would just unmute yourself. You might be able to do it. Let's see.
Let me see.
Does that work?
There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, hi there. Yeah.
Hi, I'm computer illiterate almost. This place makes my heart beat faster, and I want to be there. It's incredibly beautiful.
Mhm. Yeah, the heart really highlights for me too.
It just started, like I don't usually talk in these things, but I had to.
Oh, well, welcome. Thank you for sharing. Yeah. All right, Catalina.
I love it. It just, as soon as it came, it made me very happy. I love the contrast between the bottom with almost the geometrical lines. It's almost like a natural painting, and the opposition with the roughness of the top. I wish I was there now.
Well, feel the part of you that is there, right? That's really the practice, because it's amazing the experiences you can have from afar, right? And just, it takes a little bit of time, but I would just open yourself to the possibility that there's a place in your sense of awareness and your consciousness that is there.
Okay.
I had the opposite reaction from Velma. My heart slowed down, and I had this immense sensation of peace, of settling, just settling down into something.
Awesome.
I could look at that.
Other experiences.
I could look at that like all the time, every minute of the day.
It's a masterpiece, right?
Yeah.
Any other experiences, differences, stepping into this, like the experience of self before this and now in it? Is there a change that happens to any of your energy or anything like that? Yeah, Lana.
When I look at this and I tune into it, it just feels like home. I don't know. There's a different way to put that, but yeah.
Yeah. A feeling of home. That's great. Judy.
Can you hear me?
I can, yeah.
I've traveled many places in the world doing archaeology and stuff. And to me, when I see this, it is joyful humanity. It's time all the way to the beginning. Just beautiful.
I love it. I love that, because you're right. This is a sacred space, actually. This is an area that humans have worked forever, thousands of years. And there is that time portal quality in some of these places. So thank you for highlighting that.
Yeah, they're all there.
Yeah. Awesome. Astrid, I think I said your name right. I don't know. Astrid.
Yes. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, hi, I can, yeah.
Hi. You said my name right. When I look at the photo, it's I see the light and how it reflects the color and how it plays with the colors and how the structures are formed in the dialogue with the light. And how maybe it's also the materials, but I think my eyes are playing around with that. So that's my experience.
No, that's very good, because the structure of space and the geometry of light and texture do create a space unto itself that other experiences tack on to. So that's very important as well. Very good, very good. Any last little thoughts? Awesome. So you all did so well. This is awesome. This is great. This may be quite a new way of feeling and engaging, and you're all just naturally, individually starting to point at some of these frameworks that are commonly used to navigate these types of fluid dimensional spaces. So all of these are just, and it takes time. It takes years of doing these types of practices, and this is just one of many different types of practices. But it takes time to refine your subtle bodies, and your subtle bodies are really just sensory infrastructure that you have in yourself that is inside of you and is a way of being, but it's refining that infrastructure to the subtle, right? So in this, it would be a wonderful takeaway if the importance of the subtle is really highlighted, right? And not discounting those experiences of the subtle, because if you go into the subtle and you feel it, and then you continue to engage the subtle layer of the experience, a lot more can be revealed through that, right? So it's oftentimes placing your awareness on the subtle, not the coarse, but the subtle, and then through that, another layer is revealed. And then from that revelation, finding the subtle and just continuing that process, right? When we feel these landscapes or these materials as well, just really dialing into the flavors of openness that become accessible, or closure, right? Sometimes it's helpful to map these experiences on a spectrum, right? From open, fully open, like, whoa, like full on spiritual experience, to closure or fear, right? And just where along that gradient is that experience occurring? Qualities of light are also very, very revealing. They can be colors, they can be hues, textures, sort of the clarity of the light. Is it opaque? Is it sharp? So just bringing more texture to these different realms. Also, do you feel the presence of other beings? Some people shared, oh my gosh, I can feel, the totality of humanity, right? And maybe with that too, there are other beings that are present in that realm. As some were sharing, the presence of sound or silent sound. Silent sound meaning very high frequencies of sound and, vibration, just whoa. And there's a buzzing that I've often felt a sensation around that really works at something. And there's a lot of subtlety around sound that can be felt or perceived. And just, in your being, do you feel held or embraced? Or do you feel not so held or embraced, right? And what does that experience then facilitate? So really, this is just a practice. These are practices of deepening and presencing and going deeper, right? And in some places, it can just spark like a verticality of awareness and experience of self, a voltage. It's like a reorientation of some kind. And that oftentimes has transcendent qualities of awakening, right? This alignment, sharp. You can feel it. It's immediate almost. Click, boom. And that's when you really know that you're into a place that people have spent a lot of time cultivating. In fact, it's one of the reasons why people cultivate these places. Really serve as these subtle markers, a template to remember that orientation of higher self, right? So just a few more images here. Sort of taking some of these words and some of the things that I've shared and just going into this landscape. And there might be individual areas in the landscape that you're drawn towards. Maybe it's one of the saguaros, maybe it's a rock ledge, color, a texture, whatever it may be. Just taking that in and then letting it go. Not letting any one area be too magnetic, but staying peripheral, broad. Again, just sharing any experiences that you're having here. For me, this really is that vertical aligning principle, right? There's something that just, there's almost like my posture just reorients when feeling into this place. There's an uplifting quality to my energy that I feel when I tune into this. It turning upwards. And I don't really have to do anything. It's like, it just does it for me. Another moment Judy.
I'll just say when I see this, it just says home to me and comfort. Even though there are saguaros and all kinds of prickly stuff. I spent 7 years in the Sonoran Desert, and it's just a most fantastical place. It's just hugging me.
Absolutely, right?
Places like this, I live in the Pacific Northwest, and the little bits of dirt and rocks that we get to see here are very different. But when I have lived other places in desert regions and traveled in places like this, I feel like this I'm seeing, I'm experiencing the bones, the skeleton of the earth. This is I can see those bones, that deep, deep time, and the effects of the environmental circumstances, the wind and the water. It just, it's very raw and atavistic.
Absolutely. I love how you said the bones. It does have a structuring quality to it, right? The whole space. Very good. Transition to the next. Very different. Very different. So again, just allowing something natural, very unforced, to be drawn around your awareness, to be in all dimensions around this, like holding it. You can even kind of also open your hands. Again, very different scale. I mean, for me, there's almost a quality of a portal and like entering the underworlds, right? There's like something that draws me in, and it's like, whoa. You can really get, there's a depth that is felt, but it's almost as though you're stepping through a threshold. Yeah, Carla. Oh, let's unmute you, Carla. Let's figure that out. Let's see here. There we go.
Can you hear me now?
I can, yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, this image for me, it's like a place that can contain me and protect me, for example, from the rain, or it's evoke me the idea of a home, the protection that can give you a place like this. Like this. I'm sorry, my English is not very good.
No, very good. I feel what you're saying too. You know?
Okay.
Very good. Others, Astrid.
Yes, I also have this container, but also the silence of crystallized, or how you your body go into layers, but it's contradicted because it's this rough rock with an open port, or what you call it, an open space you can go into, is drawing the whole intentions of the photos. So it's so this soft materials in there is kind of it, it feels like this charcoal material that you can almost lay your body inside of it, in this calmness, in this noisy atmosphere. Hmm?
That's great.
Yes.
That's great. Thank you, Astrid. Yeah, it's great because I'm also reading some of the chats on here, and they're so great, right? A feeling of it's gonna eat me, right? Yeah, there is kind of a quality of that too. So I love it. I love it. Heidi.
This is my hand on this one. I get
Hey.
the distinct individual being. And
totally.
Mm.
Tell me more. Tell me more about this being.
Well, it's almost too obvious, but I feel seen, looked at by this being, and it's very much, part of the landscape, but yeah, just an individual presence, and
Mm.
100%. And that's what's so special. There's more advanced talk, but there are beings that live in these things, and they hold the structure, the energetic structure of spaces and places. And there are reasons that some of these beings like different areas more than others, but they really do regulate these realms. And definitely, this is a being is here. I can feel them too.
Maybe while we have our talk on, I'll add one more thing. Is that?
Yeah.
It's funny because I get this feeling here like I'm being pulled into the underworld from the back, almost like I want to go to sleep or something. It's like something is kind of conking you out almost. It's got a really strong undertow for me.
I feel that too. And someone shared in the chat a similar experience as well. So yeah. And that's the power of this. Right now, what we're doing is we're mapping. We are collectively mapping. And it's these individual experiences that we have, right? You can start to triangulate. Do others have a shared experience, right? Because this is strange stuff. You can't really, quote unquote, figure it all out. But through experiencing and sharing those experiences and doing that independently in different groups and seeing if different individuals at different times that are isolated from the other group of sharing, are they experiencing something similar, right? And that's how you start to feel the threads of this. And, I got a PhD, formally trained as a scientist, right? Like, how did I wrap my head around some of these realms of being and seeing and experiencing? It isn't as easy as just balancing a chemical formula or something like that, right? But it's only been through the experience of independently verifying some of these experiences that, I like, oh my God, there's something to this. If multiple people are experiencing these same types of things. independent from my own presence or experience, right? So there's really something to that. Astrid, did you put your hand back up?
No, I just forgot to take it
Oh,
down.
okay.
Thank you.
Okay, Jen. Yeah, no problem.
I actually had a question, if it's okay to pose a question.
Sure. We're sort of nearing the tail end. So yeah, questions are fine too.
For this one in particular, I noticed that my experience of it seemed to be very different than some of the others that have been shared. That I get a sense of unease, and that this is a place that I could take shelter from a storm, but I shouldn't linger. That this is not a place for me to linger. So how, I guess, do you, because you were talking about similar experiences, validating that a place has something, but like when there's vastly different experiences or very different experiences between people, how do you work that in, or how can you talk about that?
Sure. This is a great question, and you know, all experiences are welcome, right? And I think that, you know, in mapping these, that's sort of why we checked in at the beginning, right? Like, what are you bringing into this moment, right? What are you, because this is the realm of, you know, it doesn't always all make sense in a clean, reproducible way. Like, this is just that. So I would just respond to that from the perspective that multiple things can be occurring for different people at different times. And a singular experience is just that, a singular experience. And I would say that if you come back and you do this over and over again, over multiple times, different, you know, different, not only times of year, but what you're bringing into it is also different. I think you'll start to triangulate an experience that does crystallize something of truth, right? Yeah.
Can I add something to that? We've only heard from just a small percentage of the people who are here today. So maybe other people had a similar feeling to yours, Jen, and just didn't remark on it. So, you know, without hearing from everybody, there's no way of knowing whether your feelings are being, you know, validated by, you know, a group of people, or if you really are experiencing something different from everybody else. Okay.
That's a great point, because look, like, for me, this is a portal, and portals open different things. And I'm seeing some comments here, you know, there's some death workers, there's some feelings of burial markers. I mean, that is the ultimate portal. It is a transition area. And the things that are below that, the things that are above that, that are around that, I mean, there's experiences to be had in the totality of this place and this object. So again, I would just say stick with it. There's nothing wrong with your experience. Yeah.
Thank you.
Catalina. Yeah.
I had a very strong response with this. I feel that it grabbed me, and in many different levels. I one of the things was the roughness and the hardness of, and the strength of the outside against the softness and the purity of the inside. I could also see it as a portal, like it was calling me to get in, and it made me think like protection, but more protection like a mother protects a baby before it's born. I thought about birth. It was lots of different signals.
Well, right, in those realms of birth and death, they're quite similar, right? It's like interface. I love it. You guys are getting it. That's really cool. A perfect experience, Catalina. All right. I might only have one more here. Let's see. Okay. Do this one for a minute. Again, just allowing yourself to naturally, effortlessly, your awareness, your experience, to just be guided without effort. Where is it going? And more so the where, but the experience and sensation associated with it. Yeah, Astrid.
I feel this floating down feeling. It's like it stops with the hole, but and then it's go on again, and then it's float down, float down, float down.
Mm-hmm.
All it says to me, floating down. Yeah.
No, I mean, me too. I mean, I really just feel like an opening in my chest, and there's like a flow that's just natural. Like, it's not like something is being removed from me. It's as though I'm being drawn into, and there's a momentum that's present in this landform for me.
I see extremes here. We've got these amazing boulders, so solid and formed, and the path through here is those boulders ground to dust.
Mm-hmm.
It's the beginning and it's the end. And everything in between. It's almost like a compression of time or something in one place.
I mean, that's really profound. So this area is actually in California, and it is an area outside of Panamint Springs near Death Valley, where the Shoshone people and their ancestors for 8,000 years, this was a spiritual pilgrimage site.
Hmm.
And it's the richest location of rock art in America.
Hmm.
But what you just described, that whole, that is it. That is exactly it. An interface of time. Amanda. We'll just get you to there we go. Hi, Amanda.
Yeah, when this image first came up, I said, I've been here. I haven't been here, but that's what I felt. And I felt also that people have been helped here. Something happened here. That's what I felt. And then you mentioned that about where it is. So I have no idea. about that. I live in, you know, Wales in the UK, but I had this overriding sort of sense that people have come through, but people have been helped. People on the edge, you know, that's all really. It just seemed to resonate somehow with when you said, I thought it was a bit silly, so I wasn't going to say it. And then when you said where this was, I thought maybe it embodies that somehow. It's got some of that energy or feeling about it, really. Yeah.
No, I love that. I feel like I've been here, right? Wow.
Yeah, it's really weird. I just saw it and I thought, I've been here. It may look like somewhere I've been, or it may be that I feel that, you know, I don't know. Thank you.
Wonderful. Any others? Yeah, Julia Rose.
I wanted to share more.
Oh, you're cutting out a little bit, Julia
You know,
Rose.
I got
maybe
a.
you can.
Oh, go.
Maybe we can stop your video real quick, okay? Because you're kind of chopping out, but I want to hear this. So let's. Yeah, there
Okay,
we
so
go.
I got a big nope, like you are not eligible for this.
Right.
I think it's a really important feeling to pay attention to. You know, like gosh, I don't know, like a feeling of this is not for you right now.
Love this. This is so important because that's true. That experience is true in times, right? And there is a intuition of, is this for now or isn't it, right? And that is so important. And that, so I love that. I love that. I feel that quite often. There's like an access point, right? And oftentimes these beings sit at those access points. And when I feel into it, I can feel a no, right? So that's really valuable. Is there anything more on that experience that's coming up for you?
No, just a very strong feeling of you are not being given permission at this time. And to deeply respect that. I think it's really important as we do this kind of visitation work.
Absolutely. I'm so glad that you had that experience today. That highlights something very important. This isn't about imposing at all. It isn't about forcing yourself or your awareness into places. It's around feeling and where there's flow, following that flow to a natural place, right? And sometimes that flow leads to a no further, and other times it's a different experience. Awesome. Okay. So I have no idea how we're doing on time or what, but here's some closing thoughts, and maybe there's some time for questions. There is a lot more to discover, right? I mean, this is where things get exciting for me, right? It's these realms that are beyond the material, in these places of immense material potency. That's exciting. And these realms of the non-physical, I believe, are perhaps more interesting than the physical because there are no limits. No limits. And again, these practices and these spaces, it's really about re-remembering. This isn't something that you are born without. You already know this stuff. There's just layers that live on top of it that can change that experience. So it's a re-remembering of this subtle body infrastructure that is in everyone. And again, you know, in the end, it really is about seeing for yourself and knowing for yourself. This is not about me, this guy, telling you what the experience is of these places. That is not it at all. It doesn't work like that. It's about experiencing them for yourself and seeing what they reveal. So with that, I will close. And Melanie, you tell me what happens next.
Well, does anybody have any questions? I want to thank you, Morgan. This has been a real journey today. When you and I were chatting earlier, I said that I don't operate intuitively like Heidi does, that I'm much more factual and, you know, just, I don't know, I'm not sure how to define that, but this little process today reminded me that we all have this ability within us that's something, it's so old and deep. Again, the word atavistic comes, that our ancestors way back in the very beginning were able to tap into all the time. And a lot of us seem to have lost that. And the remembering of who we really are as humans here on this earth, and that we are in symbiosis with it, and that it will tell us what it wants. It will tell us where we can go and what we can do, or what we can't do, where we can't go. Maybe I'm not ready to go somewhere yet. You know, I think that those are all really important things for us to realize as we all continue our journey here on Earth. With that, let's open up for questions. Let's see, I gotta scroll back up.
Yeah, Amanda. Oh, muted. Let's get you unmuted again here. Okay.
Oh yeah, done it. Sorry, that's so dumb.
There we go.
I've done it again.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that. Thank you so much. And everybody's input. It's been incredible. It's really opened my mind and eyes and ears and feeling and everything. I wondered whether, I was thinking about, I've got a limited knowledge of geology, but thinking about how being told that something like limestone reflects and reacts, refracts and reflects light, but something like granite absorbs it. In that same way, do you think rocks absorb energies like they might absorb light? Is that got any correlation? If that makes sense.
I love it. I have a similar experience with limestone and light. I mean, this is like ancient experiences of that material, actually. It's why, to some degree, the pyramids of Giza were made out of limestone, right? You start thinking and feeling into the spaces behind the materiality. And there's a reason why temples are built the way that they are with the materials they're built with. So absolutely, rocks can not only innately engage with space, right? but they can be worked with, and meditations and spiritual practices can be done to impart or highlight or amplify certain natural qualities in the materials, and that's what makes a temple.
It's really interesting. Thank you. Are there any temples made of granite? Do you know?
Oh yeah. Granite and limestone are very common, materials.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, there's a lot of limestone and a lot of granite around too, so it's easy to go get and build with, but there's a specificity that's present when building a sacred space that is very intentional, and it's beyond the material.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
We have some great comments in the chat. Debbie says, very interesting presentation. Some places I go to really resonate and will take time to take it in. Places I come to. Hang on.
Yeah, absolutely. It takes these and doing it multiple times, right? I mean, places have moods, if you will. I don't know if mood is the right word, but you can feel the space behind the mood. Like, they're not static.
Yeah.
These are highly dynamic, many of them, right? And there's a flow, there's a life, if you will, in that sense that's present. And some of them don't want to be revealed right away in a cursory way. Like, they're more, it's the subtle, right? So it's allowing yourself the space and having the intention of experiencing the subtle, right? Because when you're in a place of immense visual beauty, it can be quite loud, like, oh, here it is, I get it, like, there it is. But it's what is existing, I mean, for me, at that next layer, it's beneath that, beneath the coarse, beneath the loud, beneath the obvious, that might draw you there, but it's the subtle. It really is the subtle, and those do take time to tease out and feel.
For me, it's a lot like rereading a book over and over and over again. Every time I read it, something new comes forward that I swear was not there before.
Right.
And the only way to experience that is to keep going back to it and keep letting it reveal itself to me, rather than me interpreting it and turning it into, some kind of, big mental terms.
Yeah, you're right. And places will begin to invite you in deeper the more they get to know you.
Yeah.
Like, I've spent years mapping individual places and being with places, and sometimes it's taken a lot of time of very mundane, but that's okay. Yeah, Astrid.
Yes, I will also say thank you for a very good talk. And I have this feeling when you were talking in the last piece here about this going behind the language or the symbol in language that I'm trained as a visual artist, and I'm trained in this symbol way of seeing things. So it's a kind of using your head, but also using your body. But sometimes you forget how that symbol is felt like. But a way of looking at these images and using a more, a mindful way of going into the images. It's going, for me, it's going behind the symbolic language. Sorry. Do you have any thoughts about the symbolic language, or how do you react on that, or is your mind saying something about the way we trained in seeing symbolically? Yeah, that's my question.
Well, it's a very big topic. I'll just start it out with certain words and phrases and terms have a lot of gravity associated with them, right? You can kind of feel it, like they're charged. And it's really important to have that discernment when looking at language too much. Like when a word is said, like, let's see, I don't know, I can't think of an individual example, but let's see, performance. Okay, just like feel the space of the word performance. Like there's a lot that's packed into that word, you know, that can key into even experiences of self, right? Like all different levels. So certain words just have a density to them. So I really what I'm trying to say is it's important to be able to tease out the relationship you have with individual words that may have gravity associated with them. Like what other experiences am I bringing into my use of this word that may not be clean representation, for example. So that's one part. Word gravity, it exists. Second, language is important to describe experience, but simple is oftentimes far better than anything too verbose. So when we're talking about experiences, you can do things like, is it light or is it dark? Do I feel open or do I feel closed? Is it welcoming or is it unwelcoming? You know, very simple words are oftentimes much better at this level to put some structure to experiences. I don't know if that fully spoke to your question, but open to clarifying that at all.
Yeah, but it's very good. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, Heidi or Cordy, what do you got?
Thank you for that. It's wonderful to see you giving us a early roadmap based on your lots of your experience. Something I kind of wanted to maybe just make sure we touched on, or you could comment on, is that you and I have talked about, aside from this, is just something about this risk of romanticizing your connection to land, or romanticizing or privileging flow over individual responsibility to stewarding certain places that maybe do have a lot of resistance built into them, like Superfund sites or waste places, or places that have had human influence from our own individual cultures that need a certain kind of relationship. And, you know, if we do this sort of, oh, let me see how I'm feeling in the land. This is so exciting, so cool. I have all these, I can tap into land energies. And then you tap in, you're like, oh no, I get all this resistance from a place because, oh, there's toxic stuff or whatever, you know. And you're like, oh, great, I can say no because my body's saying no. But it's like, when do you know, there's this subtle question, like, when do you actually have to say yes? And when is a land saying no? Like a bad child will be like, no, stay away from me. But you're actually like, oh no, what you need is a hug, you know? So can you talk about maybe some of this? I just want to, explore that with you. I'd love to hear you talk about that.
Sure. So thank you, Heidi. Where does the resistance come from, right? Is it always like, what is it? What is that? And responsibility. I mean, these are themes, right? Or other key themes. Stewardship. The most potent landscapes I've ever been in, the common theme is power. Power can be embedded in many different ways by many different people at many different times. And sometimes that, what's called a command node, is looking to reinforce its existence. And like you can feel it, like you mentioned waste sites, right? Like, or maybe we'll step back. The White House, okay? That is a landscape of power. Just feel into it. Washington, D.C. You feel it. There is a space behind it that reinforces the power structure that's in place. And that's very intentional. And that's ubiquitous across continents and eras, right? So how do you navigate around that? I think one, learning and being receptive to the subconscious infrastructure that's present to reinforce that power dynamic is critical. And part of this training allows that to really come to light. Like, what are these landscapes of power, geographies of power, right? That's one thing. And there, look, not all engagements with land energies are also altruistic. You know, that's another thing. They can be used for, you know, end goals that don't serve the broader good of humanity, if you will. And this gets into a topic that is totally tangent, but you can start to see and feel what we're navigating here. I mean, these are landscapes of power. So how do you engage with those? Humans are global actors at this point, right? And we have, just from a perspective of soils, we have domesticated, if you will, something like 70% of the Earth's soils. They're like huge geomorphic actor at this stage. So we all know the narratives around degradation and, you know, et cetera. And there is a fallenness that exists in many landscapes that can also be felt, right? It's not just beautiful, pure landscapes. There's a fallenness to the energy that's present there. And maybe through tuning in to the more subtle qualities, you can access the vitality of unfallen energies that are still present, but that aren't really at the surface. So it's also thought that through this work, through working with, you know, sacred places and sacred landscapes, that in re-engaging that layer of the unfallen energy that exists there, you can start to amplify that. You can start to reactivate that in a sense. And if more and more people do that, it's curious to think about what might be possible, you know. So I know that I'm not, you know, saying, oh, the key is in this. I'm not saying that, right? But I think more than anything, there's an invitation to engage in both personal, spiritual work that's great and fun and whatever, but to really make significant impact, you do have to kind of bring it all together. So, I mean, I work on nuclear waste remediation, right? And I mean, I have very specific access that's been granted to me to be able to do that. And none of what it is I shared today plays into like why they hired me. But I can't not say that I engage through places, and I have to feel that some of my success in being able to understand what's going on and how to address it and how to work with these places that are charged is positively influenced by my ability to navigate the non-physical realms of places. So anyhow, that would be a great topic, Heidi, for a fireside chat perhaps in the future.
I think so. Thank you. That was great. I just wanted to get some of that flavor out there too, alongside with. I just feel like you're so articulate when it comes to getting like where you activate your knowledge around land energy through continuing to work with land in all these ways, and I think that's really amazing. So thanks. Yeah, let's have a fireside chat. People come over. I'll have a fire outside in like 3 hours. He's coming.
What I got out of that, Morgan, is that, and this is something that I've thought about in other areas, is that if we go into a place where there is falling energy, we can put our own energy into that place. We can bring its power back simply by being there and acknowledging it and recognizing its value and embracing it. You know, I've been to a lot of places where there has been horrible tragedy, and I can feel that energy hanging there. But as more people come into these places with love and good energy and a sense of healing, it starts to change. And I think that we can do this as you know, as individuals and as, you know, a community. We can help restore those energies in a variety of different ways just by bringing goodness into it.
I mean, you raised such an excellent point. I mean, this is really bringing the realm of the spiritual into the actual. And, you know, we talked about beings a little bit, right? And there's a whole world of these nature beings. And these beings are incredibly important regulators of places. And when I talk about the fallenness of energy, or the vitality of energy, they are directly responsible for regulating much of that. And they don't like to hang out in places that are like totally bombed out, you know, that just don't, there's just pervasive, think about like a wasteland. They'll find other more interesting places to go, right? And they also like to be worked with and like to be seen and you know, acknowledged in some way. So I think that working with these landscapes, working with these places, working with these beings really does create this feedback that can stabilize at, you know, and at best enhance.
Yeah, there's a symbiosis between us and the land. And we have taken so much out of it. We expect so much from it, but we're not giving anything back. We're not giving enough back. There's reciprocity. And the traditions in which I grew up, you live a reciprocal relationship with everything. You know, not just your neighbors, not just your family, but with, you know, the rocks, the weather, you know, the stream that runs through your backyard, whatever. And that reciprocity is really important energetically. It's what has sustained us as humans, you know, throughout the eons. The reciprocity of You know, I do something good, somebody else does something good. It, you know, all contributes to the greater good.
Yeah, and some of the things that we highlighted today, and you know, like this cave that we saw, right? I mean, these are technologies of consciousness, you know, and this is ancient wisdom. This is nothing new.
Yeah.
And it really is about re-engaging, as I said before, you know, what we already know to be true.
One of the things that
So
I
maybe
would
with that,
yeah, one of the things that I'd
Go
like to
ahead.
point out is that we just spent the last hour, however long, looking at pictures. And I think that many people had some kind of a feeling, some kind of a sense, just from looking at these pictures. We're using a virtual world.
Yeah.
We're not actually even in these landscapes. So if we're looking at a picture and getting this feeling, how much bigger is that when we go into place? You know, how much
I
more
love this.
are we going
Yeah.
to feel when we are in place? What are we going to hear, smell, taste? I mean, what is the total sense of this place? I mean, if you can get it
Isn't
from
that remarkable?
picture online, imagine what it's like in real.
Yeah.
I really
that
want to
is one
thank
of
you for
the-
that experience.
Yeah. I'm so happy that was a takeaway, because it's very palpable, right? Wow.
Mm.
I mean, the space of an image carries a lot, but you're absolutely right. What more is present when you're there, right? So it's, I hope you leave with far more questions about how all of this actually works in some way. I don't have it all figured out.
It's not for any one of us to figure it all out. It's just for us to live it.
Right.
Catalina wants
Right.
to know if you can recommend any books or articles on the subject today.
Oh, I would have to, nothing off the top of my head. There are some things out there, but I want to be careful with what I vocalize in that, because again, maybe what I can do, Melanie, is circulate a bit of a list to you or something for those that are interested. Okay.
Sure.
So Catalina, I think I know you somehow, and we can follow up directly if you'd like as well. But Melanie, I can put a little something together that has some
a little
annotation associated with it, because it's not
Okay.
like, oh, this is the thing. There isn't like a de facto reference, but
Yeah.
there's pieces here and there that are useful.
Okay, that would be good.
Cool.
Let's see. Yeah, several people are interested in more reading.
Perfect. All
I
right. Well, we
think
can
that
figure this out.
I think that there really is material out there about this. It's finding it and finding the material that's real, that's not some kind of BS.
100%.
Yeah.
This is the realm where there's also a lot of shit.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't, so there's context that's required, because look, there's also a lot of quackery, and I mean, so
there's
you.
A lot of false shamans out there.
Yes.
And I think
but
that
there's some stuff that's okay, there's
Yeah.
some stuff that's okay.
And I think that if you look for this information in a discriminating way, one of the things that I always do is look, if I read something, I look for substantiation somewhere else. You know, I'm not the kind of person who's going to take the word of one person. I would like to hear a, you know, like an orchestra. You know, you can't just take one note and build an orchestra. So, but you've got to discriminate amongst those notes.
And look, again, just Catalina, go out there and like with some of the basic stuff that we just did today, like just see for yourself, know for yourself, right? I think that's probably the most valuable, but yeah, there's some writings on some of this stuff.
Catalina spends a good deal of time in the landscape, in amazing landscapes.
Yeah.
Yeah, what I wanted to say is I am the happiest when I can walk a landscape. And the farther away, the more far away from anything, the better. And I have a lot of feelings, but I would like to understand more, if possible. I don't know if I need to understand more, but it will be nice to go a bit deeper on it.
Well, it would be fun to connect with you because I'm definitely feeling that there's a spark that is ignited that is curious to dig a little deeper. So something was lit that maybe there's the ability to continue to incubate, right?
Love that. Thank you very much.
Yeah. All right.
So a couple of people said to add their names to the reading thread. I think I'll put something up on the website. So check it out. Give me a week or so to get things pulled together. And we have an enormous reading list, but I think I will start like posting specific topics related to talks and things like that. And then you guys can just access it at your leisure.
Thanks.
Cool.
Well, Astrid,
thank you all. This is great.
This has been a real experience. I don't even know how to put words to it, you know? And I can't thank you enough, Morgan, for sharing this with us. There are so many ways. Oh, look what Heidi's got.
I'm eating this rock that Heidi's feeding me over here. So.
Often.
Oh, I know that rock. I know where that is from.
Often I have this horrible urge to lick my rocks. And all of my life, when I go to a beach, I have to take a beach pebble and carry it in my mouth. I don't know why.
Beach pebble's probably safer than some of the rocks that you want to lick. So
yeah, probably, but I think Heidi and I probably lick more rocks than we don't.
That's right.
You're not the only one. I also sometimes want to lick things that I know I shouldn't.
Yeah, I think that's a very, again, another atavistic characteristic of humans. You know, how do you want to learn something with all of your senses? So tasting is critical to that.
You know, what I will say, though, is the further down the road you get on some of this work that I highlighted today, just as you said with the photographs and what they're able to evoke, the less you actually need to physically touch or taste, smell things to get an incredibly dimensional experience.
That's an interesting point. But we are getting short on time here tonight, today, this morning, this afternoon, whatever time it is in the world for each of you. I want to thank everybody for coming today. This has just been a really wonderful experience. And when you think about the guys who are doing this kind of work like Morgan is, you know, the guys who are doing land remediation or nuclear waste containment, they're not all egghead scientists. That may be an aspect of who they are, but they get to experience things and be in places that most of us will never, ever even know exist. And so their experience is incredibly valuable to the rest of us. And we need to hear them and be open to what they have to share.
Thanks for the platform, and I look forward to continued dialogue.
With that, I will let everybody run away. Anybody who wants to hang out and have a little conversation is welcome to.
Thanks all. Thank you, Morgan. Bye.
Thank you so much.
See ya.
Good
All
night.
right.
Thank you.
Yeah, Jen said,
Thank you.
Jen said, the more you dive into science, the more you realize what we don't know. And I've always said that what we've already discovered, what we already know, is nothing compared to what we don't know. More will
Sure.
be revealed or not.
There we go.
There are some things that need to be left to mystery.
Agreed. And there are some things that are beyond our, ability to fully know.
We're only the humans here. Those rocks have more knowledge than we do.
Well, that's why the name that you selected, Pigments Revealed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the name of this series is Pigments Talk, because we're not just talking about pigments. Pigments talk to us, and we have to learn to listen.
Well,
does anybody
on that note, I do have to excuse myself from the conversation from here, but it has been a real pleasure, and I thank you all for engaging. It takes actually people like speaking out for this thing to work. So, thank you to those that have the courage to share something of their experience, because none of this, it falls flat. It would have been a total bomb had no one shared. So thank you for making it work. All right.
Thank you for the invitation to share and for walking us through that.
Yeah, this was a really nice format. Usually we just get, straight the facts, ma'am, PowerPoint kind of thing.
Not from me.
I expect to see you at the campfire at Heidi's sometime soon. Well, maybe
I would love that. It's
maybe next summer. It's getting a little cold up
in
here.
the spring.
Yeah.
There we go. All right. Thank you all.
Bye, Morgan.
Bye.